Hello and welcome to my first Magic Online video. Today we're taking a look at the new player draft league, which is essentially like a normal draft, but instead of having 8 people, we're only going to be 4 people drafting. So that means we only open half of the usual amount of boosters. So therefore the decks are going to be a little less powerful than usual, since you see fewer packs, so fewer rares and uncommons. But should be a good introduction to Magic Online and to drafting for the people that only watch Magic Duels content. And don't be afraid, it's not because I'm making a Magic Online video that I'm going to stop making Duels videos anytime soon. So consider this as a bonus video for now. Alright, should be getting started soon here. Alright, so here's our first pack. Let's make the cards a little larger so you can read. So we opened a decent rare here in Ovia. Experimental Aviator is a pretty good one. I don't hate Quicksmith Genius. Gear Seeker's also a good one. Propeller Pioneer. Wild Wanderer is also decent. So this pack we're gonna see at least 3 more times, so I don't hate taking Ovia here, maybe hoping to wield Appetite, the Wild Wanderer, or maybe one of these other cards I mentioned. But Ovia is a good place to start, so we're going to take her. Pack number 2, alright, Wispweaver Angel is a very good one. Malphis Doorbuster is also fine. Fairgrounds is especially good in black-green. Ether Tradewinds is playable. Appetite is good. Eager Construct is marginally playable. And Prophetic Prism is also a pretty exciting card, actually. So out of this pack, so I don't think I'm taking a green card here, since the Wispweaver Angel is powerful enough. The Wispweaver Angel is better in blue-white, since that has the whole bounce your creature or flicker your creature theme. Prophetic Prism could put us in maybe blue-green, but also gives us the option to splash multiple cards. So I actually don't hate taking the Prophetic Prism highly. So I think it's between the Prism and the Wispweaver Angel here. I think I'll stick with the Wispweaver Angel here. Alright, so here, let's see, we've got a Voltaic Brawler. Does commit us to red-green. We've got Malphis Squad, which is decent. Sky Swirl Harrier is playable. 2 Spontaneous Artists. Malfunction is not an exciting removal spell, but it is a removal spell nonetheless. And the Sentry is also fine. So nothing too exciting. If we want to stick on color, I guess we would be taking the Harrier. But I don't mind taking the more powerful card, and if it doesn't pan out, that's not a big deal, since we're not missing out on a lot of powerful cards here. I think I'll go with the Malphis Squad here and keep our options open. And let's see here. So we've got a Bruiser, Inventor's Apprentice, but this doesn't really fit into any of the decks we already have cards selected from. I don't hate Attune with Ether, since that gives us a lot of mana fixing, flexibility, and a little bit of energy, which is not bad. Lawless Broker's playable. Impeccable Timing is not an exciting removal spell, but it's still a removal spell. And we've got a Puzzle Knot. I think I'm going to go with the Attune here and keep our options open, because this is a 4-player draft. We're probably going to play more than 2 colors, since only playing 2 colors is a bit too limited on playables, probably. So don't hate taking the Attune, keeping our options open. And here we got our first pack back. And we do have the Wild Wanderer, which also keeps our options open and gives us another splash card. Maybe we can take the Prophetic Prism from the next pack and have a lot of flexibility. There's also the Gear Seeker Serpent still, Appetite as well, but we might wield that one. And the Propeller Pioneer, which combines nicely with the Wispweaver Angel. So I think here it's between the Pioneer and the Wild Wanderer. Let's see here. Don't hate taking the Pioneer, so if someone else is in green and they take the Wild Wanderer, we still have the Appetite, and it's not like Wild Wanderer is a super high pick, but I do like the evasion on the Propeller Pioneer here, and it does combine nicely with the Wispweaver Angel. Alright, so here we could take the Appetite, which is not bad. Could also go with the Eager Construct, since it's just a 2-drop that goes into any deck. And there's a Fragmentize, which is similar to the Appetite. And Fairgrounds Trumpeter doesn't have a lot of synergy. I mean, we do have 2 Fabricate cards, I guess, that could put +1/+1 counters on themselves. So here I think it's between the Appetite and the Eager Construct. And I think I'll go with the Appetite here, since Eager Construct is pretty irreplaceable. So here we get Sky Swirl Harrier back, I think. Could take Acrobatic Maneuver, since we do have a number of Enter the Battlefield abilities already. Cowl Prowler is also pretty replaceable. But I do like the flying again, since I've noticed in this particular format of only 4 people in the draft, decks aren't super powerful, so the evasion is actually quite relevant, since you will often get board stalls. And here we've got, again, the Bruiser as an option, Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot if we want to get some card advantage going. And if we get that Wild Wanderer back, we could splash black. So I don't taking the Puzzle Knot here. Otherwise it would be something like Cowl Prowler, which is not that great. And we can pick up some other Cowl Prowlers in the future. So let's take the Puzzle Knot. And we did get the Wild Wanderer, and I think I'll take it over the Appetite here, since we already have an Appetite. And this fixes our mana quite nicely. And Trumpeter comes back. Could also take Fragmentize, but I think I'll take a Trumpeter here. So looking like a green-white deck, maybe with a black splash, but we're still pretty open here. If we open a good red or blue card, we can still probably play it if it's not too color intensive. And I guess I'll take the Prowler now. Sort by converted mana cost. And Ovia is pretty good here with multiple creatures with the ability to make a token. Makes her even better. Alright, so could take another Prowler, could take Lawless Broker. I guess we'll take Broker for our curve in case black ends up being one of our main colors. And Thriving Rats is not a great card, but I guess we could end up playing it, since we do also have this Attune with Ether that makes a bit of energy. And I guess I'll take a Puzzle Knot for the sideboard. Alright, so let's see what pack number 2 brings us. And Shahili's Artistry is one of the better rares in the set. So we also have a Longtusk Cub, which is often called a mythic uncommon because it's so powerful if you can play it out on turn 2. And then there's also Hunt a Week as a good removal spell. So quite a few options. I think it's between the Cub and the Artistry. So if we take the Artistry, we're kind of shifting gears and we'll have to pick up a lot of blue cards, which we don't have any of. But I could see it being still the right decision here, just because it is such a powerful card. And as I've said, this format doesn't have a ton of uncommons or rares, so you don't have those super powerful cards very often. But then again, Longtusk Cub is in our colors, would fit our curve, and also has some energy synergies that we already have in the deck, so could just be the Longtusk Cub here. But yeah, we're not going to wield the Artistry, we can know that for sure. But I think I'll take the Cub, and then maybe hope to wield the Hunt a Week. Lost Legacy is not a playable rare. Hazardous Conditions is in our colors, but is not a great card. Got another Malphis Squad, another Wild Wanderer, Foundry Screecher, if we want to have another evasive creature. I don't love the Eddytrail Hawk, and the Bazaar Barge is also not bad. We have a number of 3-powered creatures that can crew it. It doesn't lose us any card advantage and can play it with any color of mana. So I think we might end up taking the Bazaar Barge here. and then hoping to wheel the Squad, the Wild Wanderer, and the Foundry Screecher. I think we have a pretty decent chance of wheeling one of these, so I think I'll take the Bazaar Barge here. Alright, Arborback Stomper is very good, as well as Tidy Conclusion. So don't see a lot of good white cards here, so we might have someone in white on our side here. But let's see. So we don't have a lot of removal yet. We actually don't have any removal besides the Appetite. So we might have to take the Tidy Conclusion here. But Arborback Stomper is one of the better uncommons. And does a lot of good work in this deck, especially if we also play the Wispweaver Angel. And we're not super committed to black yet. We could just be green-white, splashing black. So I think we take the Arborback Stomper and go from there. Alright, so here we have a lot of good white cards, so perhaps just no good white cards were opened. We've got Visionary Augmenter, Glintsleeve Artisan. If we're gonna want to go super wide, there's also Inspired Charge, but I prefer taking up these creatures first. There's also the Seed Sculptor, which is fine, and the Weaponcraft Enthusiast, as well as Aviary Mechanic. So lots of good cards here. And I think, let's see, if we look at our curve, I wouldn't mind taking up the Mechanic, the Artisan, or the Seed Sculptor. Again, we're not sure what our two primary colors are yet, but I think the more powerful cards here are the Augmenter or the Artisan, so I think it's between those two. Looking at our curve, I think we go with the Artisan, also easier to cast with only single white. I think we go with the Artisan here. And there's a Dune Operative, which is a decent 2-drop. And there's also the Glimmer of Genius that's wheeled. We could play it and splash blue, but it's not like this is the end-all be-all super powerful card that we have to splash for it. There's an Aetherborn and an Operative, I think. I don't hate the Operative. We have a decent amount of artifact cards or cards that make the servo tokens, and we need more 2-drops. Alright, so we wheeled the Foundry Screecher and the Malphite Squad, did not wheel the Wild Wanderer, which is notable. So let's see, do we want the Screecher or the Malphite Squad? They both do good things for the deck. So right now it looks like we're base green and then splashing both black and white basically, which is not ideal. We would prefer to be two main colors with one splash. But I think, let's see, I think we want the evasive creature here. We have the Pioneer, the Harrier as evasive creatures right now. Don't really want more 4-drops. I think I'll go with this creature here. Alright, wow, we managed to table a Tidy Conclusion. That's pretty nice. Also have a Fretwork Colony, that's not bad. Goes nicely with the Fairgrounds Trumpeter. We've got a Live Fast, which I would also play since we do have a number of energy creatures in the deck. But I think we just have to take the removal spell here and hope to wheel one of those black cards. And here we get the Seed Sculptor and the Aviary Mechanic, but now I think it's pretty clear that black and green are the main colors and not white. So probably gonna take the Seed Sculptor because of that. The Mechanic is a more powerful card late game since you can make an extra servo token or maybe even something better. But I think we want to have the green card as our 2-drop here instead of the Aviary Mechanic, even though again the Mechanic is better late game where we would have access to white mana. But I think I'll take the Seed Sculptor. And here could go with Fragmentize or Ambitious Aetherborn. Don't mind taking the Aetherborn here. Gives us another artifact for the Foundry Screecher. And here we got the Malphite Squad back, which is not bad. I think I still like that more than the Hazardous Conditions, just because the Malphite Squad is just a solid playable, while Hazardous Conditions is more of a sideboard card. Alright, so I actually don't mind the pick of the Artisan here, since we probably will not end up playing any double white cards. Maybe the Angel just because it's so powerful, but at least the Artisan is splashable, and here I'm happy taking a Fretwork Colony. Goes nicely with our Trumpeter, and it's another 2-drop. So right now, cards I'm not super stoked to play are... I don't think we're gonna be an Inspired Charge deck here. So I think I'll take another Rats, even though it's one of the cards I would prefer not to play. Alright, we got the Hazardous Conditions anyways, so that's good. So could use some more removal spells. We did not wield that Prey Upon, but hopefully we can pick up some more removal spells in the last pack. Alright, so we've opened a Lathnu Hellion, which doesn't really fit into our deck all that well. Aerial Responder, a very good card, but double white, so might not be able to play that one. The Coction module is not one of the better modules, unfortunately. I've got another Aetherborn, but Renegade Freighter has to be one of the better commons you can open, since it goes into any deck. It's just a powerful card in any beatdown deck, and our deck does look like a beatdown deck. So I think I'm happy taking the Freighter, even though, of course, the Responder is the more powerful card. But double white is kind of a problem, since we only have the Attune with Ether and the Wild Wanderer right now for splashing. And looking to maybe table another Puzzle Knot, or maybe, I don't know, the Coction module could maybe make our sideboard. Alright, another Longtusk Cub. I'm happy to have that one, even though we did want more removal and we do have a Die Young in the pack, but Longtusk Cub has to be one of the better cards. So happy to take that. And on the wheel, I guess we can hope for the Die Young, maybe the Scavenger. I wouldn't mind having one combat trick in Ornamental Courage, but yeah, it's easy a Longtusk Cub here. And a pack with 2 rares here, that's interesting. Bowmat Courier, not the best one, even though it's certainly playable. And the Colossus, also not really a card we can play in this current configuration. Armorcraft Judge, however, we do have a number of cards that make +1/+1 counters, so I'm happy to take an Armorcraft Judge. And it's one of the cards that it is at its best in black-green, and we are mainly black-green. There's also Make Obsolete, which can be very powerful, and another Wild Wanderer that I wouldn't mind playing, and could maybe even consider an Aviary Mechanic on the splash, even though obviously having a 2-drop on the splash is not ideal, but this is one of those cards that's still decent in the late game. But yeah, a pretty easy Armorcraft Judge here. Alright, I see a Thriving Rhino, which looks pretty decent here. Both an energy card and a card with +1/+1 counters. Fits our curve nicely. And then there's also a Rush of Vitality if we want to pick up a combat trick, but we might wield that. As well as another Ambitious Aetherborn and Lawless Broker. But pretty happy with the Thriving Rhino here. So now we get back our original pack, where we could pick up a Decoction module. Do have a lot of creatures with Enter the Battlefield abilities. Could also go with the Puzzle Knot or the Ambitious Aetherborn. Already have a Fragmentize in our sideboard. So I think it's between the Puzzle Knot and the Decoction module. And in a long grindy game, this can be pretty good. So I think I'll take this for the sideboard, since we already have a Puzzle Knot. And alright, we got the Die Young back. Happy to pick that one up. So deck's shaping up pretty well. We have to make a couple of cuts. So not sure if we'll end up playing the white cards here. Alright, so we got the Make Obsolete back, as well as the Wild Wanderer and the Aviary Mechanic. I think I like the Make Obsolete here, and I wouldn't mind running this in the main deck, just because it's both a combat trick and a removal spell if the opponent makes lots of 1 toughness creatures. And Wild Wanderer would be fine, since it helps us maybe play the Wispweaver Angel, but I think that's still a little ambitious, even with 3 mana fixing cards, and I prefer the 3 mana card over the 4 mana card here, I think. So yeah, let's play the Make Obsolete. And here we can choose between Lawless Broker or Rush of Vitality. Don't have a combat trick yet. And already do have a Lawless Broker and a decent amount of 3-drop creatures. I think it's close here, but I don't really want to play these Thriving Rats. So I think I'll go with the Rush of Vitality just to have 1 combat trick. And here I don't want the Fog, so I think I'll just take the Aetherborn if we need more 5-drops in a certain matchup. Night Market Lookout, don't really have a lot of vehicles to go with it, so I guess I'll take the Maneuver for maybe a grindy game. Alright, so we got the Wild Wanderer back anyways, so I think I'll take that over a second Prowler, and I guess I'll take the Lookout just in case. Another Fragmentize. Another Lookout. Alright, so looking at our deck, let's make it a little bit more readable. So cards I would prefer not to play are the Thriving Rats. Let's sort by creatures and non-creature spells here. Alright, so Ovia is an easy inclusion. Attune I think as well, just we can always play this over a land if we want to. Dayong, Rush of Vitality, Puzzle Knot all seem good. 2 Long to Dusk Cub are the highlights of this deck for sure. Seed Sculptor is good, Colony is good, and Operative is good, so I'm happy about our 2-drops. Looking at the 3-drops, we have a Foundry's Creature with I think a decent amount of artifacts. Lawless Broker is certainly a playable one. Then we have a Thriving Rhino, which also fits the energy and +1/+1 counter theme. And the Trumpeter, which is the reason we have a lot of +1/+1 counter creatures in the first place. So a decent creature for sure. And then there's a Glintsleeve Artisan, which is a decent creature, but is an off-color creature, so not sure if we'll end up playing this one. We also have the Freighter, which is very good. The Appetite for the Unnatural, which I think one main deck is fine. And then the Make Obsolete, which can be a nice combat trick and removal spell. Then taking a look at the 4-drops, we have 2 Wild Wanderer, Propeller Pioneer, 2 Molfist Squad, and the Armorcraft Judge. So pretty happy with our 4-drops. Still not sure if we're gonna play the Propeller Pioneer here. And I could see cutting a Wild Wanderer just because we're not really ramping into anything particular, and if we don't need it for fixing, it's not as necessary. We also have a Bazaar Barge, which I think I'm pretty happy with. We have a lot of 3-powered creatures that can crew it. Then we have a Harrier, Stomper, and Aetherborn. Again, not sure if we're playing the white. And then at the 6-drops, we have a Cowl Prowler and Wispweaver Angel, but might not end up playing either of these. So right now we have 31 cards, which means if we want to end up with something like 23 cards plus 17 lands, we still need to make 8 cuts. So it looks pretty reasonable to just cut the white cards here and see how that looks. So now we have 27, so still need to make 4 cuts. I think a Prowler, Wanderer, and maybe Aetherborn are decent cuts. And we could just play 16 lands plus an Attune with Aether, since our curve isn't that high, and we're not doing much with all our excess mana besides maybe activating the Ovia, which also just caps out at 5. So this might just be our final build, but we can take an additional look at the sideboard. So for white we have mainly the Fragmentizes, Acrobatic Maneuver, Artisan. So we do have some evasive creatures, which is the appeal of the white cards for sure. So I could see that playing the white cards is necessary, just because otherwise we might end up in a board stall where we can't really make any good attacks. but we kind of do have a ways to break through board stalls with Ovia. We have a Foundry's creature for evasion. The 2 cubs might grow large enough to be able to attack. The judge can draw us a bunch of cards. We do have 2 Malphus squads with Menace, and then the Stomper with Trample, as well as some vehicles. So maybe we do still have enough ways to attack into a board stall. And we also have a Hazardous Conditions, which I think is more of a sideboard card, because it will end up killing a lot of our creatures as well. Even if they might have some +1/+1 counters, we still have a lot of low toughness creatures that would die to the Hazardous Conditions. Another Aetherborn if we need more higher curve cards. Don't think we need the Thriving Rats. And yeah, these lookouts are pretty bad. So also have the Decoction module, which is an option, but I think also more of a sideboard card if we're up against a more controlling or grindy deck. So I think this actually looks fine. And then we could add our basic lands. We do want a lot of green to be able to play the Attune with Ether early. So I think it will be more skewed towards green. Also, we want to make sure to play the Longtusk up on turn 2. And the only double green and double black cards are 5-drops. So that's not really a big concern. So I think we'll go with 8 and 8. Could also go 9 and 7. Since the Attune also kind of counts as a black source, but we do need to be able to cast it on turn 1 or 2. So could see going like this. Then we essentially have 9 green sources and 8 black sources counting the Attune. So that's enough to play our green cards early, but still enough black that we should be able to play our black cards around turn 2 or 3. I think I prefer this configuration. Alright, let's jump into some games and see how the deck does.